If your mind replays conversations like a loop, if small decisions feel strangely heavy, if you can't stop scanning for what you might have missed, this isn't just thinking too much. It's your nervous system trying to feel safe. And once you see why it started, overthinking begins to make a different kind of sense. Most people assume overthinking is a personality trait. I'm just wired this way. I've always been like this. But overthinking is rarely an identity. It's a strategy, a quiet one. A strategy your mind learned when uncertainty started to feel dangerous. So, the mind does what it believes it must do. It predicts, it prepares, it replays, it analyzes the exact tone of a message, the pause before someone answered, the look on their face that lasted half a second too long. Not because it enjoys the complexity, but because uncertainty can feel like a threat. Especially if your nervous system learned early on that mistakes cost you something. Maybe it was connection. Maybe it was approval. Maybe it was peace. If you grew up around criticism, unpredictability, emotional distance, or subtle signals that you needed to get it right, your brain may have built a monitoring system, a hyper-attentive part of you that watches everything, tone, timing, energy shifts, and it becomes so skilled at detecting patterns that it starts detecting danger where none exists. So when something unclear happens, a delayed reply, a quiet moment in a room, a short answer that could mean 10 different things, your mind begins building explanations. And when the explanation isn't certain, it doesn't stop. It multiplies. More scenarios, more interpretations, more outcomes to prepare for, until you're exhausted from solving a problem that may not even be real. That's the hidden truth about overthinking. It's not just thinking, it's vigilance. A body staying alert, while the mind tries to control the future by dissecting the past. And this is where the cycle gets painful, because you often know it isn't helping. You know the analysis is excessive. You know the moment has passed. But your system doesn't return to calm, so the mind goes back in, again, not to find meaning, but to find safety. And safety in the overthinking mind looks like certainty. If I replay it one more time, if I consider one more possibility, if I find the perfect explanation, then maybe I can relax. But certainty rarely arrives. Because life does not operate through perfect predictions. And even when you do find an explanation, your body often stays tense anyway. Because the real engine of overthinking isn't logic, it's threat response. That's the micro-rupture most people miss. You don't overthink because you're too cerebral. You overthink because your system learned that being unprepared is risky. So the goal isn't to stop thinking. The goal is to teach your nervous system something it never fully learned. That uncertainty is survivable. That silence in a conversation does not always mean rejection. That a mistake does not erase your worth. That a moment of awkwardness does not define how people see you. And as this understanding deepens, the mind begins to loosen its grip. The loops become shorter. The pauses between thoughts grow wider. And slowly, thinking returns to its natural role. Not as a shield, not as constant surveillance, but simply as a tool you can use and then set down. So if your mind often feels busy, if conversations replay long after they end, if small decisions sometimes feel strangely heavy, it may not mean you think too much. It may simply mean your mind learned to protect you. And now, slowly, it is learning that it no longer has to. If this reflection resonated with you, consider subscribing to Quiet Clarity. Because sometimes the patterns that confuse us most are simply the mind trying to keep us safe.